In this video, I will show you how to set up Lab Monster Toolkit with Street Fighter 6. Starting out, we're going to have our controller unplugged, and we're not going to have anything open. So first, I'm going to open up Lab Monster Toolkit. Once Lab Monster Toolkit is open, I'm going to select Virtual Gamepad 1 and have it be on UI input. I'm going to click the Start button, and I'm going to click Turbo. That's going to make our Virtual Gamepad 1 game controller be turboing start input while Street Fighter launches. That will make it so Street Fighter gets input first from Gamepad 1, and that's going to assign that gamepad to player 1, because the way Street Fighter works is it just looks at whichever gamepad it gets input from first. That's going to be player 1, and the input it gets input from, or the gamepad it gets input from second is player 2. So we're just going to really quickly do the same thing with player 2. We're going to set UI input, start, turbo, and we're just going to click back into Street Fighter 6 again. And now that it's gotten some turbo inputs from input 2, we're going to plug in our gamepad. So I'm going to plug my gamepad in right now. I've switched both of the virtual gamepads back to mirror mode. And there we go, gamepad's plugged in. So mirroring is working, both gamepads are on mirrored. I'm going to disable the input on gamepad 2 so that only gamepad 1 has mirrored inputs for right now. All right, so we're going to navigate to the training mode. This software should only ever be used in training mode or in offline settings. So all right, once we get training booted up here, we're going to go back to Lab Monster Toolkit and we're going to set up the frame mode. Okay, so we can see that this is mirroring correctly in a timing-based mode, but we can do better. So what we've added in this new update for Lab Monster Toolkit is full support for frame-based input, recording, and playback for Street Fighter 6. So first thing you're going to do is click on this little slider to move to the frame-based mode. You're going to switch the X input version to 1.4. Then you're going to hit Control Shift Escape, and that's going to open up your task manager. You're going to go to Details, and we're going to find the process ID for Street Fighter 6. That is right here, 28572. So we're going to punch that in there, 28572, enter, and it'll just automatically connect when you press enter. And then the last thing we need to do is there's this other column that says thread select, and there's a 7 here. So there's a pull down and there's a 7 and an 8. What these are is the thread IDs for the threads that are pulling inputs from Street Fighter. So we're going to switch this to 8. And you can see over here on the left, the FPS now reads 60. So when it was on 7, it read 130-ish. And if we uncheck thread select, it does no thread filtering, and we get like 200 FPS. So we don't want to be pretending that we're sampling, or I mean, we don't want to be recording as each input on the sample of 200 frames per second. We want to do it at 60. So we're going to switch this back on to thread select, and we're going to select 8. And now Lab Monster Toolkit is triggering every frame 60 frames a second on the exact timing of the game frame for Street Fighter 6. So now we're good. At this point, you can record, you can play back, you can do whatever you want with Lab Monster Toolkit, and it will work perfectly with Street Fighter 6. So to give you an example of that, I can load up a sequence here. This is a sequence. Let me just show you in the input editor so you know what's about to happen. This sequence is a sequence that just has various inputs that are held for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 frames respectively, and then there's a buffer input at the end. So if I press playback sequence, you can see in the left here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this is going to give you perfect playback every time with this new feature. So if you record something with Lab Monster Toolkit as a record sequence, it will play it back. Obviously, in Street Fighter, there are a lot of good recording tools. The training is great in Street Fighter 6, but we do have this functionality now. You can also adjust the game speed, so now you can run Street Fighter 6 at, let me go back to mirror source input. You can run it at 3/4 speed, you can run it at half speed, you can even run it at 1/4 speed if you want. You can pause the game, you can step 1 frame at a time forward in the game. If you want to grab any particular screenshots or anything like that, there's plenty of uses for this tool in a variety of ways. But yeah, Lab Monster Toolkit frame-based mode, completely functional now with Street Fighter 6. Enjoy!